So in the first year of life, we have what's called synchrony and attunement. And that's because babies are not mobile. So what babies have in the first year of life is like you in their face or people, caregivers, parents in their face, reading faces, face to face eye gazing in the first several months before mobility. The baby is attracted to mom's voice and face into the eyes. Now, that happens too. It can certainly happen in adopted children, of course, but if it's a biological parent, then they have been hearing that voice for a long time. The caregiver, so when babies are first born, they don't imitate our expressions because they really can't. We imitate theirs. I want you to think about it. You're looking at a newborn and they're making like faces, and so you make them make the faces, and they're sad, and you make sad faces. And then, and how weird would it be if they were like crying and you're like, ha ha ha, we don't do that. We copy them and mimic them. And through that mimicking, they read the faces and their systems, they're not thinking it necessarily, but their systems are beginning to relate this feeling to that expression and that look. That's the beginning of emotional literacy. The understanding of what emotions are, that connection between how I feel and what that face in front of me looks like. Um, and this cultivates attunement, being like attuned to somebody, in rhythm with them, in sync with them. And it's a right brain to right brain connection. I mentioned that today. The mother picks up pleasures and pains and emotions of the infant and feels them in her body and regulates them. Becomes, this is kind of important, a surrogate regulatory system. Infants, babies do not have the brain capacity to regulate their emotions. We might say to them, please be quiet. They cannot. They do not understand that, and their systems cannot do it. Um, but the caretaker is a surrogate system that's helping them to build that capacity. So think about that. We look at them when they're upset. Oh, I'm so upset. And then we rock them, and then their like little expression changes, and we change their expression, our expression, and we are helping them to regulate the emotion and see the shift and feel the shift in what that is. Together, mom and baby co-regulate each other. They become attuned to the other system. The right hemisphere is deeply connected to the nervous system, heart rate, body state of emotions. The autonomic nervous system develops postnatally and becomes regulated through this attachment. When in attunement, through feeding, eye gazing, all of that, mom and baby experience a drop in heart rate and cortisol levels. Oxytocin is raised, the love hormone. Immune and cardiovascular systems regulate together. That's what that is. It's like this dance that caretaker mommy and baby do together. And it helps the baby understand what it is to regulate emotions, to go from feeling this to feeling this. A psychologically attuned caregiver minimizes negative emotions through soothing and maximizes positive through play and love and attachment. Okay, I'm hoping all that makes sense. Write down any questions you have and we'll go over them. So, the essential task of the first year is a co creation of bond between infant and caregiver. The child's first relationship is a template that molds individual capacity to enter into all other relationships. They shape the personality. All humans want to be seen, known, and heard. It's a human desire. It's deeply embedded in us. It's part of that experience expectant attachment that we have for attachment. We want to be seen, known, and heard for who we are and loved for that. And babies get that in the beginning. And if they are, they grow into more kind of trusting and confident people set up to become autonomous and initiative and all those other things. The right hemisphere is tied to that social intelligence, and we talked about that, um, and to handle social stimuli. So for healthy attachment, which we call what Ainsworth called through her studies secure attachment, this is the cycle of it, what it looks like. A caregiver is attuned, holding the baby, looking at the baby, regulating the baby. There's an attunement that takes place. Well, mom and dad can't do this 24/7. It's just not possible. We have a very kind of technical term called good enough. Like 60% of the time, if you can be attuned, if somebody can to these children, then, but at some point you're attuned, the phone rings, or you want to take a shower or eat some food. You're going to disconnect from baby. That's just normal. And it's also normal when that disconnection happens for the infant to become dysregulated, meaning they're no longer regulated, they're upset, they're dysregulated. And I'm going to pause for just a second. Okay, so there's the dysregulation, which is totally normal for an infant when after they've been in attunement and they get out. And then, though, the key to all of this, to a healthy, secure attachment, is repair. Does the caregiver come back in good time? We're going to see a video in a minute, and it only takes a minute or so for a baby to become really dysregulated. You don't want to keep them in that state for very long. So, is there a repair to the situation? It's okay for there to be that disconnect and dysregulation and a little bit of time that grows over time so they can learn some resilience, learn to self-soothe. But in the beginning, we're talking 2 minutes. We're talking very, very little there because you're building the trust that you're going to continue to return. Um, and so babies continually seek engagement from us. And when they don't get it, then they become that, they come, they look to us, they try to be close to us and to regulate with us. And so when they don't get it, they become very dysregulated. And too much of that can, of course, be a problem. So we're going to watch what's called the still face experiment to show this whole thing in action. Now, this cycle, I think, is also very good to think of in terms of any relationships, even adult relationships, right? That we're all going to have connect, disconnect, we're going to disagree, have conflict, we're going to dysregulate over that, maybe get upset. The key is always repair. How do we do it? Do we do it in a timely way? Do we do it in a well way? All right, so I'm going to pause and then we'll start the video in a second.
Are extremely responsive to the emotions. Are extremely responsive to the emotions and the reactivity and the social interaction that they get from the world around them. This is something that we started studying 30, 40 years ago when people didn't think that infants could engage in social interaction. In the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby who's about a year of age.
Are you my good girl? Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this. And then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, "Come on, why aren't we doing this?" Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions, they turn away, they feel the stress of it, they actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Okay. I'm here. And what are you doing? Oh, yes. Oh, what a big girl.
It's a little like the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is that normal stuff that goes on, that we all do with our kids. The bad is when something bad happens, but the infant can overcome it. After all, when you stop the still face, the mother and the baby start to play again. The ugly is when you don't give the child any chance to get back to the good. There's no reparation.
Okay.
And they're
So you
stuck
saw in the still
in
face that it doesn't
an
take much
ugly
time.
situation.
And it's very upsetting. It's even upsetting to adults to have just a blank face looking at you, that we respond to those nonverbal cues. And so that child became so dysregulated and so upset by even, I mean, the mother was there, but by having no expression on the mother's face. So you can imagine what happens if it goes on for an hour or something like that, that it could be very damaging because understand at that same time the cortisol begins to run, um, that the stress response system is happening and the brain is firing and wiring around that environment and that experience. So reparation is the key, not perfection, but it has to be, of course, timely reparation. So this still face shows us, what that's, and you can tell that mother, even though she kind of creeps me out that she's able to stay so still. But anyway, that mother and baby have a secure relationship because not, baby got upset, but was able to be soothed by mom very quickly and come right back online. So she's used to mom being responsive and being there and repairing the situation rather quickly. Okay, so this is what we just watched. Now, on D2L, there is a video called The Science of Neglect, and I would suggest that you watch that on your own. There's a link to it in D2L. And then in class on Wednesday, we're going to be doing the strange situation short video, and the handout that I gave you will go over quickly before we move on to our Making Connections in class experience. That whole thing should take no more than 10 to 15 minutes. Um, but so all the rest of this gives you the background that you need for attachment and what that looks like, I hope. Write down any questions you have, go over it as much as you want, read it in the book too, and we will discuss further. And I'll see ya. Bye.